Hey, everybody, you know what you're watching. This is the Cisco Day with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Melissa Longo is also here. We're matching.
Hello. Yeah.
What a coincidence. Oh, wait. Are you
Mine's
wearing? Oh, no, you're wearing the
Ferengi.
Ferengi.
I
and I'm wearing the
Cisco
Ciscos.
one yet.
Sorry about that.
But, you know.
We also have Scott MacDonald here, everybody. You know who he is. You love him. And if you don't yet know who he is, you will soon when we record this episode. So everybody in the live chat, can you hear us well? And how is everything looking so far before we go live or before we hit record? Yep. David is very pleased with your choice of shirt, Sirach.
Somebody likes Def Leppard.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
I know.
All right. So we'll wait a little bit longer for everybody to file in, and then we will hit record.
Question for David: Did he hear the new Def Leppard release that came out a couple of weeks ago?
Oh, I didn't.
With an orchestra behind it. So I think it's a different sound.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Check it out.
Interesting.
Something to look up.
Let's see.
Side tangent.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared, but I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, I want to check it out.
David says, "No, I have not. Def have to check it out." All right. Well, if we're all ready to go here, we'll hit record, and we're going to be recording an actual episode. And this episode will actually be then edited together, and it will premiere. I think it's going to be June 4th is when this one will premiere.
Oh.
Sunday. The first Sunday of every month is when we release these.
Sandwiched between a couple of birthdays, I know.
Mine.
Whose birthdays?
I'm trying to think of who the other is, though.
My sister's birthday is.
Oh, happy birthday to your sister. And also happy birthday to our good friend, Andre Kotman.
Yay!
Okay.
It was his birthday just yesterday. He's partying. Vegas will never be the same after him being there. So shout out to him. He kicks off the wacky Gemini season. So look out, everybody.
Wow.
All right.
Right.
All right. Time to get serious here. Here we go. If everybody's ready, we will hit record and record this thing right now. Actually, let me close my door. I got airplanes flying about.
Let's do it.
All right. And thank you, everybody, for joining in the fun. This is really cool, really fun. We're glad to have you here for the very first Cisco Day and the very first live recorded episode. And the very first time, finally, Scott MacDonald is here. We're going to talk all about him in a moment, but this is something we've been waiting for since the Carter administration, it feels like.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Scott's like, are his jokes always this stupid? Yep. All right, here we go. Hit record. Melissa's like, it's sad because it's true. In 5, 4, 3. Chief O'Brien's face gets very pink when he's aggravated. Tosk is the most natural straight man Chief O'Brien has met in ages. And a ram scoop is used to capture stellar gases and convert them into usable fuel. Of course, obviously, everybody knows this. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 7th Rule Deep Dive with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
And Melissa Longo is here.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Today we're doing a Deep Space Nine deep dive of episode 5, season 1's Captive Pursuit, story by Jill Sherman Donner and teleplay by Jill Sherman Donner and Michael Piller. This is directed by Corey Allen. This was January 31st, 1993. Where were you? We have a very special guest, everybody. The reason you are here, Tosk himself, among other things, Mr. Scott MacDonald.
I am Tosk.
Yes.
Perfect.
Boom. End of interview. It's over.
Yeah, we did it. So
Now you
very
are Tosk
quickly,
as well.
right, before we even get any further, let's just acknowledge also you've got the picture of Tosk behind you. You also have the picture of Garanagar. Everybody knows this is the Jem'Hadar that was off the white on that planet. And you'll remember this. Julian Bashir would call him Garanagar. And if you remember that, you remember that episode.
Yes.
You were also Rollins in the first episode of, not of the Henry variety, of the first episode of Voyager. And in Next Generation, I believe you were a Romulan. Is that right?
Yeah, I was Sub-Commander Nivek. I kidnapped Marina Sirtis and made her into a Romulan.
Yes.
That's
That was so
fun.
good. Yes.
Yeah. Again, I was really lucky and got in a lot of really well-written episodes of Star Treks on all four of the new, well, at the time, the new. This is the 30th anniversary of Tosk, which just hurts my feelings. Because I mean, luckily I did it when I was 5 years old. So
Mhm.
Is Tosk still on the run?
yes, he is. Yes.
Tosk lives.
They never got him.
Tosk lives. They never got him.
So, Scott, this was your first role in Star Trek, I believe. Sub-Commander Nivek was same year, about the same time, but technically this one was recorded, shot, and released first. Were you a Star Trek fan before you were on Star Trek? And can you tell us what the interview process was, like the first days coming on for the interview, the first day coming on that gigantic, beautiful set?
Well, it was an intensive process. The audition process was really intensive. This was my first. I was in a play at the Mark Taper Forum that had won the Pulitzer Prize, and Junie Lowry and Ron Surma auditioned me the year before for Next Generation. And I booked the job, but couldn't do it because I was in the play. And so the following year, they came back and said, we have another one for you to try if you want to come in for it. But the makeup is going to be really, really, really intensive. And I was just massively excited because, yes, I was a Star Trek fan. I really liked, I mean, reruns of, we'd run home from football practice when I was in high school in order to watch Star Trek, the original series reruns, And I actually was we made a video when I was in high school that was a kind of a joke takeoff on Star Trek, where I played Captain Kirk and everybody in a red jersey was down in this one room and they would get called to set and they would all scream and howl and cry because they knew that all the red shirts die. And we literally had a production guy drag them out to go to the set. It was pretty good. It was pretty funny. We had some pretty funny jokes, that were in it. I wish I had that thing. It would be hilarious to put it together with some of the stuff that I've done since then. But so yes, I was a fan. The audition process was incredibly intense. It was my first guest star in Hollywood. So I didn't really know processes. And I kept doing things throughout the shoot and everything that were a little perhaps untoward, but I didn't know it. And I would have it kind of explained to me later, in various instances. But I read the first time I went in and I read, and then they called me back and I went back down and I had really specific ideas. They showed us a rendering of Tosk and kind of talked about him and what he was, this creature who was bred to be hunted. And so I had some really specific ideas, and my imagination kind of took over. I felt like I had a lot of opportunities to create new stuff because Tosk was the absolute first creature to come through the wormhole from the other side on the show. So I thought, okay, that gives me as an actor these opportunities for massive discovery. Everything he sees. I mean, at that time, we didn't have any idea what was on the other side. We were still, that was, unknown information. Plus, no episodes had aired when we filmed this. So, I knew who O'Brien was, but I didn't know any of the other characters yet. I was just coming off of, and it was the first time we did the makeup, it took 6.5 hours to get into it.
Holy mackerel.
I got there at 3 a.m. and got to set at 9:30. And so I never, ever saw anybody in the company out of my makeup.
Wow.
I got there before everybody and left after everybody every day that I shot. The only people who saw me out of my makeup were Corey Allen and Colm Meaney, because on the very last day of shooting, they took me. There used to be that little bar there on the lot at Paramount. I don't remember the name of it. Right on it was kind of on the campus of Paramount Studios. And
Rocky may have been too young.
They invited me over there to have a drink with them, both of them, Colm and Corey, which was flattering in and of itself, but it was, I went in and I read, and then they called me back, and I came back and I read again. And the second, of course, for the callback, the room was full of the producers. Everybody was there. And they kept giving me direction that they wanted him to be scarier. They wanted him scarier. They wanted him meaner. And they kept showing me the rendering saying, look at him, look at him. And I didn't know you weren't supposed to do this. I said, no, you're wrong. He should be an adaptoid. He should figure out how to get along with these people in order to accommodate his wishes, to use this facility to stay free, because freedom is the only thing he's interested in. He's on the run. He's free. As long as he's on the run, he's winning. So I don't agree with you. I don't think he should be scary. I think he should figure out how to get what he needs out of these people, and he's not going to get it here. And I even said in the audition, if he was on Kronos with Klingons, he would be meaner. He would get his blood up. He would do what they would respect in order to get what he needs as this adaptoid. And Corey Allen was in the room, our director, and he was from the method school. He was with, Corey Allen is the guy who goes over the cliff in Rebel Without a Cause with James Dean in the car race. That's Corey. Corey was a legendary Hollywood acting teacher and a legendary actor in Hollywood for a long time. And he came in with all those method guys, Dennis Hopper, James Dean, all of those guys. So he was responding to my audition because I was coming up with historical sourced motivations for Tosk. So he started to kind of help me. He even came in front of all the tables where all the producers were and read with me. And they kept correcting me, kept telling me, no, we want it this way. We want it this way. And I kept fighting for my position. I didn't really know that you weren't supposed to do that. I was in this massively collaborative play. So I naturally was just being collaborative, I thought. And there were a lot of really good at the time lead characters from television series waiting in that hallway. It was intimidating. There were a lot of really high quality actors sitting out in that hall reading for Tosk. But I just thought, I got to stick with my choices. I'm just going to hang in here and fight for this. I didn't feel like I was going to get it, which sometimes is freeing for an actor. And so Corey, it was pretty extraordinary. Corey started to agree with me and fight with the table. And so I was Corey and I became this team kind of against them in this, and not in a negative way, just creatively. And they gave me this one adjustment and I didn't agree with it, but Corey leaned in and he said, go about halfway so that they feel like they won. He whispered it in my ear. And I said, okay. And I did. And we finished, and it was the speech where it's a wonderful speech where Tosk explains he can't accept asylum because it goes against the principle of his life. And Corey was sitting there, and I'm not kidding. This is probably 45 minutes in an audition.
That's
Of
a
them.
long time.
Unbelievable.
That's
Unbelievable.
great, though.
It hasn't happened to me since, and I've been in a million of them, and it hasn't happened to me since. And of course I had no idea at the time. I thought, oh, this must go on all the time. Because you don't feel like you're someone's, you don't feel like you're special. You just think this must be how it is. And Corey, we finished that audition, and I did that little speech, and Corey turned and looked at them, and he was flushed. He was kind of angry. And he looked at those guys sitting at that table and said, does anybody else have any damn questions for this fine actor? And just stared him down. It was extraordinary. I mean, I left thinking, wow, maybe, but I had a little bit of that feeling of like, boy, that felt like a little bit more like a fight than it did an audition, And then I got it, and went and met Michael Westmore, and he showed me the original plate, and we did the form of my head, and we started to build that Tosk mask. And I mean, I was a kid in a candy store. I was on the lot at Paramount. I was going into the makeup. I had a little trailer that was mine. It was my first job in Hollywood of any significance at all. And I understand now. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to, before you get too far away from where you just were, this is your first job in Hollywood. That's where you're at. But I want to ask you, in the audition, because it's so much makeup, what were you doing physically with your body to portray this character? Was there some of that involved in it, or is it just about the dialogue?
No, that's a great question, and there was. I had an idea that because he looked so reptilian, I had this idea, how they talk a lot about dinosaurs becoming birds, the sort of avian connection to. So I had a lot of what I felt like were bird head movements, because I was imagining that mask.
I was catching that, yes.
And
now we know where it came from.
So I had a lot of, and it got even more so in that makeup chair for 6.5 hours. I would practice. I would just sit there in front of that mirror while they were working on me, because they don't allow you to sleep while they're working on you. And so I was, thinking, oh, this looks proud. This looks inquisitive, because it's such a strange process. You have no face. No, you can't raise an eyebrow. You can't curl a lip. And this is the first mask that Michael Westmore ever glued inside the lips of the actor.
Wow.
First one ever. And I had these cat's eye contact lenses. They were hard, not soft back then. And they had this idea that you were going to see Tosk multitask on all these machines rapidly. So the makeup on my arms, they built a prosthesis that went on and was glued on every day over the top half of my arms. And then they would make up my hands brown, so I couldn't touch those contacts. So I had an eye technician on set. His name was Jean-Pierre, and he was from a contact lens store in Beverly Hills. So one of the cool things, what's the order, Sirach? Speed, sound, something, action. Every time before the clap.
Right.
So, but it would
Sound,
go,
speed, rolling.
say speed,
Right.
rolling.
sound,
Speed,
rolling,
rolling,
and
then
action.
yeah.
But in my shots, they'd say speed, sound, rolling, Jean-Pierre. And
Contact lens.
This guy would walk into frame and stick his finger in my eye right before the shot and roll those cat's eye contact lenses to straight. I don't know if you've ever had anybody do that. It's massively disconcerting. Massively so. We were at middle of day one and I went to Corey and said, listen, man, I
do
need
this.
about 10 seconds after that guy takes his finger out of my eye to get back to being tossed, because Scott MacDonald goes on red alert that somebody's going to touch his eye and it gets in the way of my process. So can I just, and then we had a hand signal if I was in a close-up that I would give him, and then he'd say, and action. Once I could get
Smart that you
Tosk
voiced
back into
that.
my head. Yeah, it took me a while to get used to it. By day 3, I was over it, but it was crazy. Sometimes
So
we'd
you
be
can't
going
touch your
along-
eye.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time, all day long, touching them. And some takes we'd be doing it and they'd say, oh, cut. And I'd say, no, that's the line. And they'd say, now your contact lens is spinning. So we would have to start over,
Oh,
because it was
no.
rolling
It's like
in
telling
my
3
eye
o'clock
while
now.
while we were shooting. And so he, and I'd think, oh, here comes Jean-Pierre again. And he would stick his finger in my eye, it was, and it was I lost 16 and a half pounds in the 8-day shoot. I was sweating inside there like nobody's business. We would dump a half a glass of water out of each one of my boots at the end of the day. It was
Wow.
a full neoprene, full body wardrobe,
Wow.
plus all of that 6.5 hours in it.
Mhm.
It was brutal. It was a brutal makeup. I had no idea at all if what I was doing inside my head and inside that suit was translating at all to the outside. Because like I said, you don't have your face.
Mhm.
So it was incredibly great when I saw the episode on TV, because I thought, oh my God, it worked. Because I had no idea. I really did. My first job, and now I look back on it and I understand why they were peppering me with all those questions. I mean, that was a big gamble to give me that big a job when I didn't have a lot of credits on a show that's just starting out. It just, at that time, you just think, well, I can do it. But
Mhm.
by day 5, I was thinking, whew, I was running out of gas. I had my Friday, I had a 22.5 hour day. I got there at 3 o'clock in the morning and finally got out of the makeup at 1:30 a.m. and was leaving the lot, because they knew I had Saturday to rest. But I was a mess. The picture that's right behind
Elisa
Yes,
or Ryan?
that-
Elisa.
Melissa.
that on that day that we were
Look
filming,
at
that
that.
was that Friday. And I remember I had the lines, I did it. The whole thing, it's right when Tosk arrives and there was all this techno babble and I'm exchanging information with them. And we finished it and Corey said, great, punch in, let's do it one more time. And I said, do what one more time? And Corey said, the exact same scene, the one you just did. And I said, I don't know it.
Right,
They
it's
said-
done.
They said, what? What do you mean you don't know? You just did it. You were word perfect. I don't know where we are. I don't know what we're doing. And then I remember one of the guys who was working the doors and, just said, you better get that guy some Gatorade. And because I was just unraveling. It was just so late, and they gave me
Yeah,
the script and I looked at it and thought, oh, this scene. Okay. But it was 30 seconds later and I didn't remember what we'd done. So I remember Corey saying, we're going to have to catch the rest of this on Monday because,
he's done.
He's running out of gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an extraordinary physical effort
Sounds like it.
to play Tosk. It really was. It was people ask me what's your favorite Star Trek character, because I played 6 different characters, but I'm the proudest of Tosk because it was such a war inside that suit. It was really difficult to overcome and get the character through the suit and that collaboration with Corey, he was incredibly helpful.
You did an awesome job, Scott.
Oh, thank you.
Glad,
You triumphed.
I'm glad you did it. You did a great job. There was a
Amazing.
moment there when you called for the computer and the computer's voice came on and you did a jump back at the screen. Like, whoa.
Mhm.
And I just thought it was such a subtle choice to make, but it made me really feel one, like you had like you were a reptile, you know,
Yeah.
because it felt like a reptilian type of reaction. I just saw a lizard the other day and the way it jumped when I walked past it.
Yeah.
You
And
jumped.
so
I was,
little-
I was trying for all that, the newness of everything.
Yeah,
Because
and I saw it.
Like I said, the first one through the wormhole I felt like this gives me permission. That's why that broken speech pentameter that I use. Colm said, like, day 2, I don't understand why you guys are letting him get away with this. We have the universal translator. He was a little annoyed. And and I said, yeah, but how does it know yet? I just came through the wormhole,
Right.
you know, and that broken speech pentameter, I just liked it because I call him O'Brien. Everybody calls him
works.
O'Brien. I call him
Yeah.
O'Brien. So I kept looking for 2-syllable words. There was one that you were talking about the ram scoop scene earlier, and the that scene, the original line was, "Can it be fixed?" And I asked, "Can I say, can it be repaired?" Because it was 2 syllables. Can it be
Interesting.
repaired? So that I could break. I liked it because it kept me in the rhythm of Tosk to speak in that sort of peculiar way. It gave me this psychological difference between me and everybody else, kind of help my performance, I thought. You know, it might be overkill, actor overkill or whatever, but you know, it was the choice I went for. But I didn't know, again, this thing of it being my first one, I didn't know that all had to go upstairs and to the writers and get okayed and come back down. I didn't realize I was creating. I just thought
You were making waves.
havoc you've
I
created.
was, and I really was, and I had no idea I was. I just thought, well, the script soup.
They must like your kind of waves because they kept bringing you back. So
Mhm.
I mean, when they're saying when you're making waves for the purpose of making the character as great as you possibly can, you know, and putting that thought into it, I don't think that's something that people look down bad upon. I think it's something that they're saying, well, he cares about this. He wants to get it right.
Exactly. They were motivated choices. They weren't
Right.
egotistical, I guess, or
Right.
you know, look at me. They were just motivated choices that I just liked that 2 beats on words that I could do with him sometimes, because it would sort of bring me back to being him. Because like I said, there was this war going on inside that suit where Scott MacDonald wanted out. That stuff is claustrophobic. We had one day when Garrett Graham, who plays the Hunter, who's a massively accomplished actor himself and has incredible Star Trek credits besides the Hunter. He just unraveled one day and needed out. He started pulling on the makeup and was laying on the ground. I mean, I saw that a few times. Happened once when I was playing a Klingon. It happened to a guy, and I saw it once when I was playing the Zindi on Enterprise, where people just lost it in
They're
there.
like, get this off of me right now.
Yeah, right then.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they can't just pull it off like that. No,
Garrett was pulling
hard.
on it, and they grabbed him and held him down and took him away. I remember Corey walked up and said, "Well, obviously the day has changed.
Yeah. We have a different schedule all of a sudden.
We're going to shoot all the over the shoulder. This stand-in will wear the Hunter's gear, and we'll shoot all of your close-ups over the shoulder today, and we'll get Garrett tomorrow." You know, so there was stuff like that, and I was feeling it to a certain degree, but I was also so unbelievably jazzed to be on this great show and to be on the lot at Paramount and to be playing this character that it carried me through. I was spent a lot of days, but in a wonderful way, almost like, you hear basketball players say, I could have gone another quarter. I was so ready. And it felt that way to me. I just felt ready to play him. I was in my head, in that galaxy, in that space station, finally on Star Trek in my mind. I was supremely happy on set in that job. It was a incredibly great experience, and everybody was so cool. You talked about, like, what was it like the first time I walked in to the promenade, and there's a whole little scene where O'Brien comes and sees me in my ship, and then we walk out. And once again, here was one where I did something that I didn't know you weren't supposed to do, because it occurred to me while we were rolling. I came in, they rolled that door out of the way, and in we came into the promenade, and I took it in and did all of this physicalization of taking in the wonder of, because what a set. And then I looked right, and I didn't know who he was. It was Bashir, but I didn't know he was one of the leads of the show. And I had this idea, and I walked up and I got this close to him. And I hadn't done it in the original blocking. And I got up this close, and I looked him over and looked him over and looked him over, and then turned around and came back to O'Brien. And we got done, and Corey said, "Okay, cut." And Corey walked over and said, "What was that? You didn't do that in the rehearsal." And I said, "Oh, sorry." "Oh, well," I said, "you're probably going to think it's dumb, but I have these cool cat's eye contact lenses, and in my imagination, they have a kind of a heat sensor in them.
Oh, cool.
When Tosk gets close, he can examine the biology of the creature so he sees the second human that he's seen since O'Brien, and he thinks, oh, okay, so they're kind of this way. I need to behave in such a way, because these are calm beings." Corey stood there for a minute and put his hand up and said, "Everyone gather around." And I was thinking, uh-oh, what have I done? Have I blown it, And he said, most of you atmosphere people are actors, correct? Yes, everybody nodding heads. He said, "I want you to listen to this. Tell that story again that you just told me," he said to me. And I'm thinking, I don't want to, I really don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want this attention on me. I want to try to stay in character. So I said it all aloud again. I just said, well, I was just explaining, that the eyes have a heat sensor and this and that and the other thing. And Corey said, all of you in this room need to take note of this fine actor and his motivated choices. That's how you act. Okay, let's get back to work. And I mean, again, another just unbelievably extraordinary moment with this guy, Corey Allen, who I already admired myself because I knew his career when I met him. But what a compliment,
Right.
It was extraordinary. I mean, it was my first guest star. And of course, I'm thinking in my mind once again, this happens all the time. Of course, it hasn't happened to me again in my career since that day. But it was really great. I mean, just coming into the promenade, and then and it was just fortune favored the bold, because I didn't know Bashir was one of the stars of the show. No one knew who anybody was yet on that show. So every time I was meeting these characters, of course I knew who Renee was, and I had a scene with Odo, and I was very excited about him, and the scene, and I recognized immediately that wonderful scene between Tosk and Armin Shimmerman as they are amazed by each other. Because I thought, what's Tosk think of those ears? I mean, I leaned way forward and tilted in, and he did the same thing back because he's such a great actor. We sort of mirrored each other. And there was some great comedy found in that scene by him, I remember thinking, oh, this show's going to be pretty good because these people are really good. They, I threw some stuff out unexpectedly in places, and they responded really well. And Colm and I got along really well.
I was going to ask you about Colm.
Yeah. Sadly, we are just about out of time here, though. But what that means is that we've got to have you back Scott,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
we have so much more
Run-a-gar.
to talk about. You have so many more stories from different sets and different characters. I feel
Wait,
like there's still
before-
more about
Before
Tosk.
we go,
Yeah.
can I just say how cool is this?
Yes.
Yeah.
One episode and I got my own action figure.
That's so cool.
That's a win
No
right
way,
there.
right? No
Yeah.
way. You know, I have a great friend who said,
Mhm.
getting a little action. You know, I just,
Figures.
you know, no way, you know.
All right. Well, that's great. There's also a hunter action figure as well. Somebody
right.
in this panel has both. But anyway,
There
Scott.
was a obsessive compulsive Entertainment Weekly guide to Star Trek where they rated all the series, and unbelievably, Captive Pursuit was the #1 rated Deep Space Nine episode.
That time,
From-
wow.
I think they'd only done 5 seasons at that time that they put that magazine out.
That's still great.
But still, a friend sent it to me in the mail. You know, he was just like, "Look at this dude." You know, I you know, I didn't even know they did that kind of stuff. It was, you know, fans, when I started doing conventions, started giving me magazines and things like that. I didn't follow it that closely. So, an unbelievably great kickoff job. Just a total luck out. Great writing, great director,
Fantastic.
unbelievable actors. And
You killed it. You killed it.
Yeah.
And
It was
you know,
great.
and
Yeah,
their
we-
patience for my
we'll always have it to appreciate it.
yeah.
People
Thank
will
you
always
very
come to
much.
watch it. Yeah.
That's
Well,
nice of you
thank
to
you,
say. I
Scott.
appreciate
This has been amazing. We can't wait to have you back,
Yeah.
honestly. And it's got to be sooner than season 5 of The Next Generation. So we'll definitely be
Wow.
contacting you again. Big shout out to Lolita Fajo for hooking this up, our good friend. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody, stick around. We've got a little bit more of this episode, Captive Pursuit, on the 7th Rule. We'll be right back. All right, we did it, man. Now
Sweet.
we got to have you back, Scott. We're still
Sorry
live,
about
by
that.
the way.
I talked
No,
too
not
much.
at all.
I'm
That
so
was
sorry.
perfect. That was
That's
perfect.
great.
Oh,
So
good.
we'll let you go, but we'll definitely talk to
I
Lolita
forgot to
because
tell
we'd
the
love to have you
story of
back
this
anytime.
I forgot
Oh,
to tell
Deep
the
Space
story
Nine.
of the hat. This is
Well, we'll have to do it
That's
next
the real
time for
hat.
sure.
That's
this
the
is a
real
very
hat.
cool.
Yeah.
This is a very cool
Shan't forget.
story. This hat was given to me by Michael Pillar.
Oh,
And
nice.
wow.
Only the executives had it, and some of the cast. And I, you know, again, in my silly, goofy way, I said, can I have one of those? And they were baffled that I would even ask. And then I went into my trailer on day 5 and there was one in there. And I just thought, and then I just recently found it. I thought I had lost it. I found it in a box of Star Trek stuff that I had stored up years ago. And
Well, I hope I get to see you at one of these conventions. I don't know if you're going to be
Yeah.
in Vegas this year.
I couldn't get Lolita said she tried to get me in and I couldn't, they didn't get me in.
Oh, bummer.
Again, it's this peculiar anonymity thing where,
Right.
where
Everybody
they
knows you,
don't
but
know-
they don't know you.
yeah, they don't know who I am. Those guys who used to run that creation thing, I did one time where I did 2 panels and a next gen panel and a Deep Space Nine panel and something about Enterprise.
So you were on Voyager, Enterprise, DS9.
We'll
Next
have
generation.
to, yeah, we'll
Yeah,
have to
there's a
get
lot
into
of
all
stuff.
that next time.
And
Though,
I
guys. We
starred with,
gotta move
Yeah.
on.
I
Yeah,
also
all right,
starred
Scott.
with,
We'll catch up with it next time. Sorry.
that's a cool. No, I
Brett.
starred with Robert O'Reilly in the Klingon CD-ROM live action game as a Klingon. I was Quaylon. I was Gowron's brother Quaylon in that, and Jonathan Frakes directed the whole thing.
Oh,
It was actually a really good job. It was about 8 weeks of Klingon work.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely have you back. We got to talk about it. We got so much more to ask you about. But Scott, thanks very much. We'll see you again real soon.
Thank you,
okay?
Scott.
Really hope so.
Thank you, guys. Great fun. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. So we will jump
That's
into
pretty
the
cool.
next segment. God, he's got so many stories. We
many
only scratched the
stories.
surface. We got to have him back for like a virtual TrekCon
I know.
and just talk about all of the characters, because that was just
Right.
Tosk. Just imagine how much more there
And
is.
not all of Tosk.
Right. And we see you all in the live chat. Hey to everybody. Lisa, Lori, Jed, my Shuttle Pod show is there as well. Rose Kirby. What's up to all of our
Hey.
pals? All right, let's jump into this next one real quick, shall we?
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh, and the Roddenberries. What's up, Roddenberries? Steve
Yay.
Case. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. In 5, 4, 3. Well, hi there, everybody. Welcome back to the 7th Rule Deep Space Nine Deep Dive with Sirach Lofton and Melissa Longo.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, we've got some trivioids this week, and they are as follows. Sensors are picking up elevated neutrino readings. Chief O'Brien knows a little bit about ships, well, more than a little. The Caladrium flow has been damaged. 300 people live in Deep Space Nine, more or less. Quark kicks a Bolian out of his bar. Oh, man, I wanted to use that one at the top. That's a good one. Love those Bolians. Tosk only requires 17 minutes of sleep per rotation. A ram scoop is used to capture stellar gases and convert them into usable fuel. Tosk is the most natural straight man Chief O'Brien has met in ages. This was the most disappointing hunt in memory, and Chief O'Brien's face gets very pink when he's aggravated. Did you guys notice the Bolian, though?
Yes.
Right? The lady Bolian that was
The
getting
cheater?
kicked out. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love them Bolians. So here are a couple things that I had never noticed before, because that's what this is all about, is jumping on things that were kind of new to us. When they were saving Tosk's ship, and O'Brien suggests the tractor beam, and the ship was breaking apart. Chief O'Brien says the tractor beam's graviton field should shore up structural integrity. And I thought that's something I had not heard before, or I'd forgotten, is that a tractor beam can also keep it together. The ship's falling apart, and the tractor beam doesn't just pull it, it's actually like keeping it, holding it together. So that was kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yeah, I've got a tractor beam keeping me together presently, so it's an amazing thing. I didn't notice that before, but I did kind of pick up on new things I didn't see before. I was gonna, like, for me, right from the beginning, the lady who was complaining to Cisco about being sexually harassed by Quark.
The Dabo
know.
girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Dabo girl. I didn't notice that before.
I know.
And I actually kind of would have liked to see a little follow up on that. I would have liked to see Cisco, like, put some accountability, fact check on that, and double check on what's going on, and basically set Quark straight on what the rules are going to be, and as far as harassing people sexually on my station. I thought that would have been a good scene to see, because he was pissed off, and he was like, no, I see what the contract says, but we're not going to put that in the contract. So I actually thought that was an interesting thing to start off on, because you didn't hear about sexual harassment claims in the workplace as much as you do, in since that point. It was a kind of not a big thing as much as it has become today about workplace etiquette and sexual harassment. I thought addressing that at this point in time, season 1, it was great that they touched on it. I would have liked to see follow-up.
Well, yeah, especially 1993. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
It
ahead of
felt
its
like it
time.
could have been its own B story. Yeah. Or,
Yeah. It could
or
have
an
been
A
its
plot.
own,
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I wonder if they
Yeah.
considered it. I wonder if it was going to be, or if it was just, at the beginning of every episode, what Deep Space Nine, always does best is the episode opens up on a little slice of life. O'Brien is coming home and complaining about lunch, to Keiko. Well, you just made sardines last Saturday or whatever. Yeah, well, Miles, we can make some. I want herring. I prefer herring, or and then Miles O'Brien, Chief O'Brien to ops. We need you for, or whatever. Or, Quark is the replicators aren't working, So that's, I guess it was just they needed a little slice of life thing and they dropped it in. But what they didn't count on is that it was an interesting thing that we kind of would be like, well, hang on. I want to know more about what's going on. I want to follow up to this story.
Yeah.
Yeah, because later on, we're going to see that Lita is having similar problems, right?
Right.
And so if this had been nipped in the bud right away, Lita might not have to suffer the same kind of fate. So I think,
and the same with the one double girl where Quark becomes a woman. She's
Right.
dealing with the same exact thing.
right. So we've seen this as a consistent
This is a
theme
pattern
for
of
Quark.
behavior.
Yeah.
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 This is a pattern
Yeah.
of behavior.
Yeah,
Ferengi
it's
need
not
to
a
keep their
first time
hands to
offense.
themselves.
No.
Hey,
Yeah.
another thing was that they mentioned Deep Space Nine, 300 people lived there. And for some reason, in my mind, I always remember it being 5,000 people in there. Did it grow later on? Am I
think
wrong?
it
Was this just
grew.
because it was the first few episodes? So like people are just slowly moving in, it's only the 5th episode. But when they said 300, I was like, I remember it being 5,000. So I think it just means that, eventually it just kind of grew and people moved
Right.
in.
That caught me off guard too, the 300 approximately. But I figured it's because, they're still rebuilding the station after they've moved in. So, and all of the Cardassians and probably Bajorans that have moved off the station since it was so run down.
Interesting. So I actually just looked
Yeah.
it up, which is probably something I should have done an hour ago. But I just Googled it, and it says there are normally about 300 permanent residents of the station, though the station can accommodate up to 7,000. So I wonder, so it's, and then on Memory Alpha, it says 300 to 2,000. So it does fluctuate, capacity 7,000. Anyway, at normal capacity, Deep Space Nine supported a population of up to 13,000 passenger and crew. Anyway, just an interesting little thing.
Wow.
We're down to 300 on this one.
Mhm.
Another thing too was when Quark was talking to Tosk and he was talking about the drink, and he said this was brought to you by the brothers Quark.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I
what the
noticed
heck does
that
that mean?
too.
Is Rom a brother Quark? Is this?
Yeah, I always assumed that Quark's name was his first name, but maybe since he's the older brother, his name takes precedence over Rom's brother, like a father of Keldor or something like that. Son of Keldor, something like that.
Confusing.
Yeah, but we never heard of it again.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
I
they
think
just did away with it.
he'll use anything to pitch a drink sale. The brothers Quark, huh? Do you want to buy it or not?
It's a rare vintage. Whatever.
Yeah.
Is any of this working on you? I don't know. Just
Yeah,
stop me when it works.
Exactly. So I definitely feel there's some of that. I was watching this episode really impressed because I don't know if we've given enough credit to Colomini in the work that he's done on this show. I feel like maybe I haven't really acknowledged to the degree of which he is really exceptional as an actor. He makes it look so casual, and it looks like it's almost a throwaway, but it's not easy to do what he does and hit the notes that he hits. And I just, when he said, I'm just going to save your ship, friend, and the way he said it in the beginning, there was a real genuine tone to it. I felt like it was like, hey, I'm trying to help you, man. Just bear with me. But I love the tone there. And the conflict that he played inside himself when he felt like he was responsible for Tosk, and he felt like, since I'm the one that he's first met, and he opened up to me that, I'm gonna have more interest in his life, and I'll even kind of break the rules in order to help him out. I thought he played those notes really well, as on his end for O'Brien, just as well as we just finished giving Scott his credit for, the curiosity of the newness and being something, creating a new character that we haven't seen before. I think O'Brien gave us the feel of Starfleet really has its best intentions, and I thought he represented that well, even though he was willing to break the prime directive. Essentially, it was for this kind of greater good moment. So that's what stood out to me, is how great Colomini is as an actor. I think he's so good.
He's exceptional, and he really stood out to me in this episode too, particularly when he was sitting at the bar trying to figure out the dilemma with Tosk, and Quark is thinking he's giving O'Brien advice, but O'Brien ends up answering his own question. Really, change the rules. Thanks.
Right.
It's Colum has such a wonderful way about him, in that he plays a good everyman.
Everyman, like the everyday guy.
And it's believable, and I believe everything from that I'm getting about O'Brien.
It's so real, right? I'm like, is this guy even acting, or is he's just being a bro?
And sometimes you don't even know if he's acting. I swear, that's
right.
So easy. And it's like, it's like when you're going to work and you get caught at the light, pissed, and you're just by yourself, and you're like, I always got to catch the red light, I'm in a rush, and you might say something. That's how O'Brien is naturally, he's just naturally in that state of mind, like, oh God, see, here he comes again, or they want me to do something else. It's just like,
what did I do? That's what it always seems like to me. Hey, let's take one more quick break for our next segment and get right back into this. So everybody stick around. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back on the seventh rule. All right, well, let's just hop right back into this third one. And then the one after that will be our free-for-all pals. Here we go. What's up, Isu? What's up, Linda? My James, Chuck A, Lori Ulster, Jed, The Truth, David, and everybody, Chris Marshall. What's up to all of y'all? Here we go. 5, 4, 3. Well, hi there, everybody. Welcome back to the seventh rule with Sirach Lofton, Melissa Longo, and a host of great shirts.
Yay. I love
all
this
right.
one.
So we're talking about Captive Pursuit, which I was telling Sirach, was it that I keep wanting to call it Captive Honor, because as everybody knows, it's a Megadeth song, right? Everybody knows the Megadeth song Captive Honor. But I keep catching myself. It's Captive Pursuit, Captive Honor. There was a cool transporter effect that the hunters had. I think maybe some people might have looked at it and thought it was kind of like cheesy 90s stuff, but I thought it was really cool. Anything that's like a new effect for a transporter is really interesting. And theirs was quick. It would just kind of come up and boom, like David Copperfield pulling up a thing in front of someone, and they dropping it and they're gone. That's what it felt like. Yeah, that thing.
It was great. And I thought the helmets were great too. I thought their whole outfits were great, because it felt alien to Deep Space Nine, and that's great.
I also like the scene where Tosk tries to disappear on Odo and run away, and he's caught in the hallways. I love that just moment, how Odo's like, good luck trying to outsmart me. The line about the flea market, I thought was really clever as well too.
Love that.
Just like, I think we're just like a big flea market. that was cute, and it's a nice take on it. But I want to really also, we're also celebrating Cisco Day, so I really want to give Cisco a lot of credit too in these scenes that he was in. I like the energy he had when Miss Sarda, the double girl, was complaining. He had the right energy for me, for somebody who's in charge and who's taking control of the situation. It felt like he was on top of it, whether we saw follow-up or not. In that scene, he seemed engaged. Also, later on, when he was talking with Tosk, and he says, he was talking to the guys that were hunting Tosk, and he says, I have no tolerance for the abuse of any life form on my station. The way he said that, I thought I was, I was impressed by that statement and the, affirmative way that he kind of laid it down. Like, this is my rule. There was a lot of authority behind that. And then lastly, with respect to Cisco, the scene where he had with O'Brien at the end, where he has to like kind of reprimand O'Brien for breaking the rules and not, leaving his comm badge on the floor and, and breaking the rules. I thought that was really one of the best scenes as well, because Cisco is stern and he's, chewing him out as he should according to Starfleet's regulations and rules. But he also softened up in the moment when O'Brien says, when I was stuck in that, crawling through the tunnels, I was definitely sure that he was able to, we'd get trapped in some kind of force field or something. And Cisco's line when he says, I guess that one got by us. And he says it very straight without even hinting like he did it. He says it very straight. I love the delivery. And then after O'Brien leaves, he has a smile.
When he tells Odo, take your time.
Yeah.
And Odo was so freaking cute because he starts moseying on and then he stops and he looks back and he's like,
He's so cute.
Grumble. And he starts walking slowly and deliberately. And we're like, that is you cutie, Odo, you big Papa Bear.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to add to that, when I was watching this last night, there was one moment, and I can't remember the moment, but I was like, I really like Cisco. And it was just, no, but how sometimes these thoughts pop into your head that reaffirm something that you already knew, but it's kind of a new discovery again. But I really like Cisco. And what Sirach was saying, he's stern, but there's also an even-handedness to him. He's very fair. And he's open to everybody else's cultures, other species cultures, but he's also one to follow the rules as well. And he has a way of navigating that, towing that line between being open to other people's cultures and following the rules. So I think he's wonderful at that.
Right. 100% agree. And that's what I'm talking about. Exactly that. Even at the end, when he says to O'Brien, he says, what should I tell Starfleet in the report? And O'Brien says, well, you could say that, and he starts to give him the BS. And Cisco's like, save it. Like,
it was rhetorical, bro. Go fix something.
Yeah, like I wasn't asking you. But I love that. And yeah, like there's just moments where you can see, his fairness. Like he's gonna give you the tough love. He's gonna tell you straight up, but he's gonna omit certain parts when he writes the report. He's not gonna write the report to get you court-martialed, O'Brien. Don't worry, you'll be fine. But at the same time, don't you ever do that again. And I think he was more upset that O'Brien took the comm badge off and didn't want to have communication with him. He was like, that is where you pissed me off, right? Wouldn't have mind if you had said, "Hey, I'm helping this dude."
Right. If he kept the lines of communication open with Cisco, he would have
Right.
thought, been better with that than, cutting him off completely.
Right.
It's like, dude, trust me. I got your back.
Exactly.
But we only have a few minutes left here, but you did touch on, Melissa, something that we're always talking about on when we're reviewing this show, and that's the juggling act of respecting other cultures and enforcing the laws within the station. I think it was maybe best demonstrated when Worf was about to kill his brother.
Right.
And Cisco was like, "What that?" And he's like, "Well, it is in my custom. I am allowed to." And he's like, "That's fucking murder in our custom, dude." So, but it's what do you do? Like, do you say that their cultures are not as important as ours? Even if, no matter how immoral we think it is. And so that was, again, this episode, maybe for the first time, was demonstrating that juggling act, that not just O'Brien, but Cisco, it ultimately falls on his shoulders. Even if O'Brien is the sword that's dealing out the blow, Cisco is the one that is going to say yes or no, or look away saying yes,
Yeah.
It is the way he administers justice. It's how he does it that separates him from other people. I'll give you another example of how he administers justice. There was a point in this episode where Kira says, "Well, what if he requests asylum?" And Cisco contemplates that and then says, "If he asks," which is not the same as "I'm just going to grant it to him."
Right.
Because that's what he would need. He needs at this moment. More on, there is a protocol. He has to ask. If he requests it, I will grant it to him. And I felt like just like little things like that set in motion, like, O'Brien saying, "Okay, well, I'm going to convince him to ask for asylum. I'm going to have that conversation." But it was Cisco saying, "I'm extending this olive branch, but I'm not going to overimpose it. There's a protocol. I have a procedural way of things having to be executed." And I thought that was another example of how he leads, suggestively, or contemplatively. It's very subtle.
Well, and I was thinking about that too. I was thinking, well, if they had imposed asylum on Tosk, that right there would have been breaking the Prime Directive more than anything that O'Brien did, in my opinion, because they're changing the culture, or trying to change the culture. So if they had imposed asylum, that would be breaking the Prime Directive.
I know we got to go, Ryan. I'm going to just end really quickly with my favorite last line, which is when O'Brien swings a punch at the guy and says, "Glass jaw, huh?"
Oh.
Yeah. I was like,
Yes.
damn. I didn't know they were going to talk that much shit in Deep Space Nine.
Now I know why you wear that helmet. It was hilarious.
And then he had his friend like over shoulder with his phone, putting it on Instagram or TikTok in it. Yeah. Like alien gets knocked out by Irish guy is what it's called. Scottish guy. Irish guy.
Irish.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Here's some Irish people that we'd like to give thanks to. Their names are, before we go to the free-for-all, which is up next, their names are Homer Frizzell, Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackman Tom, TJ Jackson Bay, Bill Victor Arukin, Titus Muller, Darlena Marie, Dr. Mohammed Noor, Tierney C. Diekman, Anna Post, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, the enigma known as DQ, Neil Akasaka, our good pal Justine Norton Kurtzen, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Harry Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, my live from Tokyo, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Jane Jorgensen, Henry Unger, Allison Leach-Hyde, Jed Thompson, Classic Marcia Schreier, Brandon Gant, and of course, Doctors Susan V. Gruner and Jason Oken. Stick around, everybody. We've got the free-for-all up next. We will be right back on the 7th rule. All right. We've got a bunch of people waiting. They're banging on the door.
Let us in, let us in.
And here they come.
Oh, I can't wait for the free fall. I got
Whoa.
one actual comment. Yeah.
Got a bunch of people Bolt and chill. Nice.
Banging
on the door.
Let us in.
All right. So first things first, everybody, you are live. So everybody make sure you are muting your YouTube channel or turning it off. It's going to happen because we're watching it online. What's up, everybody?
Hello, hello.
Oh my God, we've got another birthday boy here, TJ Jackson Bay.
TJ.
Hello.
Hey.
I
Happy
can't
birthday.
stay. I'm just sticking my head in the door because I miss everyone so much.
He's hungover from his
Aw.
birthday.
Happy
Did
birthday,
Jeffrey
TJ.
take you
Hi,
out?
TJ.
Me and Jeffrey had a blast. We're partying all night.
That's awesome. Well,
All
thanks,
right.
TJ, and happy birthday from all of us.
Mm,
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Hope to see you all soon.
Mm-hmm.
mm.
Right,
Absolutely.
Vegas.
Yep. What's up, everybody? How are you?
Good.
Pretty great.
Great, thanks.
Oh, JR Poole, the Cisco stuff that you were tweeting out, was that your own creations? I thought it was, right?
Yeah, from the shirt I made
Excellent.
That's so
Great.
cool.
Very nice.
for this last year at Vegas.
That's awesome.
All right. So everybody in the live chat is hanging out. Whoa, Homer's in the live chat and in front of us. This is so meta.
Wow. He's
Get out of
magical.
Out of town.
That's crazy pants.
I call multitasking.
Mhm.
I can't do both. But hello.
Hey, Rose, how are you?
Hey,
Hello.
Rose.
Right, I can't do 2 iPads, but I hope you liked my little Instagram post.
Yep, Homer, right?
I don't know
Always.
if it worked, but
Oh, I have to look.
I hope you liked it, and
Thank you.
it's very nice. But right, wait a minute. I don't do anything but to rock Lisa,
Yeah.
Melissa, and Ryan, and
Nice.
everybody, and Matt Bourman. Cheers.
Cheers.
Aw.
Thank you. Is that looks like
Thank
a white
you.
Russian?
you.
Happy
And
Cisco
thank
Day,
you,
everybody.
Rock, for doing this, because after
Thank all you
midnight,
guys.
I will only be thinking of my half brother. Thank you for bringing this and
Awesome.
getting my mind out of that gutter that is the 3 Ds
Good.
this week. So, you know, I don't know if you remember what I said some years ago. 18th of May, 1999.
Yeah, tough day for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but think 1 year, 1 week after that, another one,
Hmm.
my mother.
Yeah.
And then,
Well, Rose, I noticed that you had put that on the Cisco wall. We did get your message. It is up on the Cisco wall.
oh, right. I
And
don't
everybody
know
at
if I'll have
home-
to keep up or not, but you realise how many, even the little shows, you're into double figures now. aren't you?
Oh yeah.
It's 9 o'clock Pacific time, isn't it?
Pacific time, it's 2 p.m.
Pacific time, 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Eastern, 5 p.m.
That's right.
UK, 10 p.m. and Europe, 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, you guys, we got to get to recording this free-for-all here. But Rose, we've got your on the Cisco wall. Everybody will see it. It will be unveiled at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time live. That's 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. It's really late UK time or early, however you want to look at it. Montana time, I think, is Mountain, probably, right, Bill Erickson?
UK
All
will
right.
be 3:30 and Europe it'll be 4:30.
That's right. So, all right. So everybody that's our roundtable people, we're going to pull you off right now. You can hang out, listen in while we record this thing. It's good to see you, Lance, Bill, Donna, Rose, and JR. So let me remove this.
Don't forget to represent solidly.
Oh,
No, we will. All right. Let me see who else. Oh, yeah. Donna, stick around. There you go. JR. All right. So, oh, wait. Also, JR says, "My, you're in the future."
It's a good day, trust me.
All right. So I think that's everybody, right? Yes. Excellent. All right. Well, let us have some fun in just a moment because Melissa has some things prepared for us. So that should be a good time. Let me see. Let me pull those up. Just give me a minute.
Happy
How's
Cisco
everybody
Day,
doing?
everyone.
Happy Cisco Day.
Cisco Day.
Cisco Day.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
And if there's time and we can work it in, I did come up with a haiku for this particular DS9 episode. Because I did haikus for DS9.
That's true.
I had a really good one for Limerick for the last TNG episode, but turns out I don't know how to read, and I thought it said Friday, not Wednesday. So that's why I wasn't here on Wednesday.
Oh, wow.
Does
Your
anybody
background
speak
is cool.
fluent Bajoran?
Nah.
Nope.
No, they didn't take her.
We'll have to ask her.
Yeah.
You're right.
We need a Peldor Joy for Cisco Day.
Yes.
Oh,
Peltor
there's your
Joy.
Mm.
Yes. Oh,
All right.
and Justin, your shirt. Woohoo.
That's
Yeah, I
right.
love that
Yeah.
one. Stem bolt
Love
and
this
chill.
Yeah.
That is our
Except
favorite.
it's black and it's covered in cat hair right now. The disc cover.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Never pick it up. Fine.
Yeah, perfect.
We can't tell.
Perfect.
Oh, Allison's got a cool shirt too.
Oh, he's one of the
I've been saving it.
first.
Beautiful.
Yay.
All right. Well, let's hit record and have some fun, everybody. I think I got it pulled up. Here we go. In 5, 4, 3. Well, hi there, everybody, and welcome back to the 7th Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
We've got the free-for-all going on. Melissa Longo is here, of course. We are also joined by Justin Weir, Anil O. Palat, finally back. Jed Thompson, hello. Allison Leach Hyde wearing a radical Cisco shirt that Melissa Longo made. Jason Oken is here as well, ready to drop knowledge bombs as per usual. Goldu Scott Jensen is here with his sneer. Homer Frizzell is also here hanging out, thinking things. Carrie Schwent is also here. She's got a haiku possibly for us. And Mai is live in Tokyo with Sirach, dead center, and Aaron and I are sharing her armpits. There we are.
Best.
Oh man, right here, right in there, yeah.
All right. So Melissa prepared a couple things for us. Let me pull these up. It is from when we reviewed this episode. Let's see. It was around May of 2019. It's about 4 years ago. Probably June of 2019. So right around. Here is the first one. Let me do this. It's going to be really meta for everybody listening in here. Okay, so hopefully this will work. Check this out.
Well, I just think it's a really interesting conversation to talk about ethics and morality in conjunction with the Prime Directive.
Yeah.
If you are a blind Federation, I shouldn't say blind, that's not the right way to say it. But if you were following Federation protocol and rules of the Prime Directive, that the idea behind that is that you correct me if I'm wrong or elaborate, Ryan, for me, because I may not express it correctly. But basically the idea is not to get involved and not to change the course of a new civilization, species, or whatever, not to get involved to the point of changing or altering their course or their life in the way that it's going.
Yeah,
Is that a fair way to say that?
Their development. Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody cares what Ryan has to say. So, Melissa, can you tell us, please, why you chose that nice little snippet?
Because I think it is an interesting question, especially with the rewatches with TNG, because they deal with those same kind of questions of, the Prime Directive. And I was kind of wondering if that applied here so much. Does the Prime Directive apply when a species is coming to you rather than you going to them? They're coming to your home world. They're coming to your home space with your rules. So how far does the Prime Directive extend beyond, they're essentially a guest in your house. So, it's not the other way around. You're not the guest in their house. So how far does the Prime Directive really apply in this situation? That was my question.
It's a good one. It's a good question too. Who's got an answer for it though?
I think we're all looking at Mai right now. But if I can interject real quick, it's great to be back real fast. I think this is far less on the first contact, because obviously first contact was done so casually, and much more on that cultural, which Aaron had just mentioned. I think Aaron may have mentioned, but more on a cultural side of things of the Prime Directive, and dealing with two different species culture. Except, Melissa, you're right. They're in your living room, and
right.
Shouldn't they respect your rules? And this is, good. That's where it gets a little murky.
I think Homer's got the right answer for it. He's like, great. Now I have to unmute myself. So much
Well, I
work
was
today.
I was hoping to get the right answer from YouTube. But I always thought the Prime Directive was, you don't interfere with the development of a society, before they have warp capabilities. Now, that's also about first contact. So maybe they need to have that officially before there's first contact. Clearly, these guys fly around. So let's assume they could go fast. So they had warp. Okay. So you have first contact. So then it's all about this kind of non-interference and respecting the culture and what it stands for. And that always comes up in Star Trek. I think it's a gray area, and I think they were able to take advantage of that and in this one. But I look forward to someone else explaining exactly what the prime directive is and how it's changed over time. How's that for a non-answer?
Very
Yeah.
good. But who could possibly know every single detail about?
It's going to tell us about the sound recording quality.
No.
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 No? Okay.
I mean, I can give it a shot, but
Give it a shot.
I mean, first of all, I mean, I guess, Homer, the right question is, what is the prime directive? And if you look at the history of the prime directive, he was basically put forward or developed not to interfere with alien cultures, sometimes primitive ones. But the question is, if you talk about non-interference with the way culture develops, even if somebody comes to you, you can still influence them in such a way that their society doesn't develop in the way you think they would develop otherwise. So maybe the boundaries are a little bit different, but the overall impact may still matter. It may be that you can do a lot more without impacting them in that way, but you still can. If you go and you start, for example, you take one of their, I don't know, political leaders and you imprison them or take them away or whatever not, that could be interfering with their culture, things of that sort.
Yeah. Aaron brought up something along those lines in these clips where he said, but the very mere fact that they're meeting at all is going to change the course of their culture, because we all affect each other, whether we mean to or not. So just that first contact is a changing
Great movie, yeah,
of the course.
Well, let's actually, speaking of Aaron, let's hit this next clip that you chose for us, Melissa Longo. It is from the same review of Aaron, myself, and Sirach. Sirach's wearing a Space Force hat. That's pretty cool.
I saw that. That was great.
All right, let's see if this one works.
Because I want to hear your thought on this. So in my thought, I almost would have rather seen Cisco give him back and go, that's what he wants. Who are we to tell Tosk what his life is worth or what his purpose in this world is? And this is their society. And while and even from the hunter, there's great reverence for Tosk. I mean, it goes back to the gladiator, right? It was reminiscent to me of gladiator, although they were slaves, but right, I don't know my history very well.
So Melissa, I think we brought that clip a little bit longer than you wanted us to, but I'm glad we hung on for a few more seconds. That was good. Why'd you choose this clip?
Well, because it kind of goes back to that same question about, interfering and what have you. And actually rewatching this episode last night made me think that actually O'Brien put them back on course to living in their true culture, and adhering to their culture the most, because he let Tosk go, so the hunt continues. So they put them back on track. He put them back on track essentially.
Yeah. I didn't think he interfered. I didn't think there was an interference, like a first contact interference. But back to what you guys were saying about the jurisdiction and when you're in somebody's, in their space, as opposed to venturing out to another person's location. I think that does matter. And I think they've addressed this before so far as we're watching these episodes. Cisco says, I have no tolerance for the abuse of any life form on this station. So he's making it very clear. I don't care what your deal is over there, or whoever you guys are, whatever your rules are on this station, I don't tolerate that. So I have a set of rules over here. And I think they've been clear about that kind of mindset to some degree on this show. But in the Next Generation, I did see a little bit of difference when Picard was willing to give the prisoner over, although he made some convincing to the appeal on their behalf, but still was willing to. So that's consistent with what was happening in this case as well, too. So there is a consistency to hand somebody over and like say, hey, it's between you guys. But to find a way out of it is how the captain allows those things to happen. Picard did it by kind of talking the alien into.
Yeah, you're talking about symbiosis.
I think that was it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he did
with
it through
the
convincing.
people that were addicts.
Right. Absolutely. And he made that deal in symbiosis to, he was kind of trying to take his hands off of it. And I felt like Cisco was trying to take the same approach. However, Cisco allowed this getaway to happen. He could have stopped it. He allowed it to happen. So
Cisco knew that he had a lot of paperwork to do one way or another.
yeah,
totally.
That's where the captains get to play in those gray areas, and that's what we get to see is the decision making of a captain. With Picard, he said, "Well, I'm going to give you the drug, but that's going to be the last of the drug because you're not going to have a repaired ship." That was his solution to it. That was his navigating the gray area, and Cisco's gray area navigation was more like, let O'Brien get away with doing what he's doing, and I'll deal with him later.
Well, Sirach, how crazy is it that you mentioned gray area? Because Melissa chose a clip that actually mentions that exactly. So how about we roll that clip? We should have somebody like, Susie, can you roll that clip? Whatever. Make it sound like we have like production value.
Which would have had a whole different result. So it all really comes down to how we navigate our own ethics and morality with others, and how we work through both of those, finding the gray. Life is gray.
Well, Melissa, your thoughts on that clip that you chose for us?
Well, exactly what Aaron and Sirach were saying. that life does exist in that gray. There's rarely a black and white solution to anything except for math. But and that is tenfold when it comes to leadership and being a leader. Is there's so much gray, and you have so much to that you have to navigate in that gray, because people naturally have their own agendas. So good or bad or gray.
Well, the people in the live chat right now are livid. They're screaming. They're like, what about Jake Cisco guesses the IMDb score? What the heck? So I guess we'll just take a quick break. And on the other side, we'll do that. We'll also see if there are any non-appearance mentions to mention. So everybody stick around. We'll be right back on the 7th rule. Oh, I just got hungry. I feel like I should have an apple on my desk or something.
Is that your stomach growling?
Something. All right. Well, let's just hop back into it. I know everybody's got a lot to say, so let's give everybody a chance to say those things. Hello to everybody in the live chat. Let's see who's in the live chat. Oh, hi, Homer. Good to see you in there.
Oh, we like Homer.
Bye, Homer.
We do
And
like Homer.
Melissa H, Bob D, Chuck A, TJ, Jackson Bay. He says, roll that beautiful bean footage.
That beautiful bean footage. Did that just unlock a memory, Ryan?
Oh my gosh.
Bean commercials, man. The dog said it.
Right.
Retriever.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Must have been before my time.
That's
Anyway,
what it was. It's exactly it.
Yeah.
Prism Child, April, Donnie, War Dog, Fran, everybody, we see you. All right. Let's hop back in. in 5, 4, 3. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the seventh rule. This is the second free-for-all segment of this Deep Space Nine deep dive. Let's just get into Jake Cisco guesses the IMDb score.
Oh, I'm gonna say this was about like a 7.6. 7.6.
Anybody else have any guesses that may not know?
Before he said that, 7.4 was in my head.
I'll say 7.5.
Wow.
Oh, you
7.1. 7.1.
I'll cover it.
Okay.
Well, the
I think it's a
Cirroc
10.
Lofton award goes to Cirroc Lofton. It is a 7.6.
Oh, wow. All right.
This guy
Got
is
it.
too good. That's why he gets the big bucks around here.
I'm good
Makes
on Deep
sense.
Space Nine. I'm good on Deep
Yeah,
Space
that's
Nine.
true.
Harder on the other one.
You're
That's
not
true.
bad on TNG.
Yeah. I'm getting used to the scale now on TNG.
All right. So let's talk about we've all seen this episode a million times or so, but was there something that you caught today that you hadn't noticed before? And let's start with the coolest shirt on the block, Justin Weir.
Hey everybody. I knew I was gonna be drinking today because it's Cisco Day, so I wrote down.
Then let's start instead with no, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna stick to this. Happy Cisco Day. I'm so happy to be part of this day with all of you. I know Duet is an awesome episode, but Captain Pursuit, this is my favorite episode of season 1. It really is. Call Meany. He is my favorite Star Trek character. He's the everyday man. I see myself in O'Brien, right? He's always irritated.
Telling there, a little telling.
The O'Brien must suffer trope. It is as common as the holodeck malfunction trope. Like we see it all the time.
Yeah.
We don't see that in this episode. This is an O'Brien must win episode. And in the end, he gambled. He went against Starfleet and it paid off. How money is that? So yeah.
Paid off and money.
Yeah.
Both figures of speech in one sentence.
My honorable mention is Quark because he gave O'Brien advice. Well, not really. O'Brien kind of took it for himself. But then he went over to the next person and was like, hey, how's it going? How can I help you? What's your troubles?
Mm-hmm.
And happy Cisco Day, everybody. Thank you.
Love it. Thanks, Justin.
Yay.
We also forgot, so sorry, we forgot the non-appearance mentions of the week.
Jake
Anybody
wasn't in
catch
this
those?
episode. Jake wasn't in this episode.
Yeah.
So I think you guys mentioned this earlier. Ryan, you brought up the Quark brothers, and Melissa, you mentioned that that's the only time it was ever mentioned like that. And I want to point that out. It's the only name that I have was Rom.
Does that count, Homer?
I'll
But
allow
O'Brien did mention that he
I
has
think-
a wife and kid.
Yeah.
Oh, duh.
Exactly.
Oh my. Sorry, Keiko, Molly.
Well, didn't Cisco say Keiko at the end?
Oh, I don't know. I
When
didn't
he's
catch that.
dressing
Your
down
wife will
O'Brien?
Right. Yeah.
Was it your wife
yeah.
or did you say Keiko? I don't.
Good. Also, Quark at the beginning said trouble with the little lady or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I guess technically could be Molly as well, because she is a little
That's right.
lady.
That's no good.
Seems like a toddler.
Ambiguous.
But good stuff. Yeah, so Homer is Rom a Nam, being that he said the brothers.
Well, I think unless there's a brother we don't know about, it is.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Jason Oken, was there anything you noticed today upon your 700th viewing that you hadn't noticed the previous 699?
Sure. I have some things that are general and some things that are rather specific. In a general sense, I think it's maybe a little bit unusual for a Trek episode of that time is just to have an A story. There's no real B story here, just an A story that goes right through, which is not necessarily certainly not how TNG ran for many years. So it was interesting to just kind of focus everything on the character of O'Brien and just have sort of the entire story devoted to his character, which was certainly different. So also on the global side, the story by credit and the writing credits with Jill Sherman. And she was a story editor on The Incredible Hulk. And we have the guest star who is in green. So that's, kind of a coincidence. And something more specific, which I thought it was really kind of interesting. In one of the scenes when O'Brien and Tosk are coming out from whatever underneath the ship, they're doing the repairs, Scott MacDonald hits Colm in the face with his foot. I mean, you can see it, and you can see Colm give him that look. What the hell? And then he continues acting, professional. Nobody else cut, and they just go right through the scene. I think it was just incredible to see that momentary lapse and then back into character and kind of going forward. So these are the things that I noticed.
I didn't catch that. I gotta see that now.
Yeah, I gotta see that too. It seemed like when Scott was recalling it that Colin probably got short with him a few times, and I wonder if that was because he got kicked in the head.
You got to take a look at the look that Colin gives Scott. I mean, look for that.
I know
1
that
second.
look.
He's like,
I know that look. I know that look.
That's
that's great.
Well,
if you're guest starring on a show, guys, try not to kick the star in the head during filming. It's kind of upsets.
It's only
the balance
episode
of
5.
power.
He didn't know. He's like, yeah, maybe he's just in and out like a Next Generation.
That's funny.
Allison Leach Hyde is here, and we are so fortunate for that. Was there anything that you noticed this time that you hadn't noticed before?
I noticed that scene where Tosk and O'Brien are walking through the promenade and O'Brien's explaining what it is. And I realized this time, I've seen the episode so many times, that they were really also introducing the audience again to how this series works. And I thought they did it really, really well. Like that was, like we're here, the Bajorans are here, we're just helping keep things together. And I thought that was really well executed to wrap it up in the story and keep introducing the new series to people, because they might have missed the previous 4 episodes. And this was a quick way to get it done. And I thought it was done really, really well. So that was what I was really surprised by, and how well written and put together it was for being, we're right in the beginning. It didn't feel clunky. It felt smooth and entertaining. And I got into the show because of my mom. This is the one she watched. And I was actually with her last night, and I'm like, I have to watch this. I'm doing a review of it tomorrow. She's like, oh, I'll watch it with you. And like every so often she would just chime over here. She's like, I forgot how good this show is. I'm like, oh, yes, it is. So that was, and I loved the makeup. I thought Westmore did a fabulous job on it. So that was another thing that I was like reminded of. I'm like, oh, I mean, Emmy nomination for it too, but it was really well done.
Well, thanks, Allison. Mom did good. Great stuff, Allison. Jed Thompson is hanging out here. He's ready to have some fun with us. What'd you notice this time?
Yeah, this was a lot of fun to come back to. I thought this was such a classic Trek episode, but painted with DS9. And so you had all these nuances that DS9 is great for. And one thing that I was underwhelmed about was this first contact with a new species, and it was sort of from a different part of the galaxy, and it just sort of fell flat a little bit. But aside from that, the overall flow of the episode was wonderful, and like what Scott said. I'm so sorry. Jason, excuse me. What Jason said about the B plot, the only B plot I could come up with was Quark's advice a little bit ish, but Colm and O'Brien there just carrying this very wonderfully. You know, this is a enlisted Starfleet personnel who is doing first contact and on the job first contact, and I thought that was wonderful. I have one small nitpick, and it's just about Odo doing a decent job at being a picture, being a painting, and with really detailed frames, but just couldn't get the nose right. The Bajoran nose there, but yeah, and Scott MacDonald's performance was absolutely wonderful, and I did a little research, and he put on a lot more makeup in future years with a lot more similar makeup, so I was very impressed with that.
He was Guranaga. That's what Bashir would call him, and a Klingon, and a bunch of other good stuff. Romulan. Anil O'Palat is also half Jem'Hadar. Welcome back. Good to see you, buddy. What'd you notice on this episode this time?
Yeah, I noticed two things. One is, I don't know if I read it somewhere or it's just in my headcanon, that the gem that the Dominion made Tosk for the hunters. I was noticing like, Tosk kind of looks like a Jem'Hadar, sort of. He can turn invisible like a Jem'Hadar. It seems like the kind of favor the Dominion would do for, a compliant planet of, and the hunters seem like they would be useful for the Dominion. So I just noticed that, and I was like, so in my head, every time I see him, I'm like, oh, he's sort of like a proto Jem'Hadar maybe, or something like that. But I don't know if that's true, but it works for my brain, I guess. And the second thing is, I really like O'Brien and Cisco, and I wish there was more of that throughout the show, because they really like play off each other really nicely. O'Brien is like, he clearly respects Cisco a lot. He's very, chain of command, but he can also push back. And I think I wish there would be more of that relationship throughout the show. We don't get a lot of Cisco and O'Brien, so. It was just a fun episode. Great building block, I think, for season 1.
Wow, that was a really interesting catch there. Allison just mentioned in our personal Zoom chat that Robert Hewitt Wolf himself stated that the same people who breed the Tosks as gifts to the hunters breed the Jem'Hadar as well. Wow. Did not know that.
So cool.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Mai is live in Tokyo right now, and she's ready. Are you in the galaxy? Oh, those are a bunch of galaxies behind you. What did you notice this time that you hadn't noticed before?
I went back and rewatched the original review of it, and what struck me about that, Aaron said, freedom equals choice, and I thought that was a really important statement that he made. And Sirach also talked about how this resembled slavery to a certain extent, and I thought that was also right on point. Slavery's evolved in modern U.S. and European stories. Today, it's not whips and chains, but it's profiling and preconceptions leading to hatred, racism, a lot of people not having opportunities and choices, color, women, single mothers, the LGBT community, so many more. The list goes on and on and on. I thought O'Brien's actions were an interesting metaphor for the right way to treat other people. He's an outlier because he doesn't judge or he doesn't categorize. I like that. But my takeaway from this episode was that it's a clear warning to people of today, viewed through this lens from the future of it's a warning to continue to evolve. And I think that's interesting because it ties closely into what Cisco Day is about. It's about Cisco and the role that Avery Brooks played. I think with him doing that role, with the way that he was positioned in the show, ties into this because it's a clear message. One of his staff, this liaison to this entire planet, is a woman. He's a black man playing a person in charge of everything, and later he becomes a god. And I think this is looking back again through time and saying to us, can you get here? Can you evolve to here? And I really like that. So this episode to me was a big call from the future to continue to evolve and to get here. Those are my thoughts.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Mai. Loved it. Carrie Schwent is here. You've got something special saved for us today, but I don't want to ruin the surprise. Did you find anything this time that you hadn't noticed before?
A couple of things I noticed, and one thing my husband noticed. The thing he noticed is when they're all getting Odo and Kieran, them are all getting shot at, and she sort of falls back on him as they're sort of getting down to like the floor. He got a little handsy.
Oh, I noticed that too.
Wait, really?
I blinked and missed it, and I had to rewind. And I was looking at I'm yelling at Steve, "Oh no, she's not your girlfriend yet. Keep your hands to yourself."
Well, I think it was accidental, but I was like, he just got a handful.
To have seen him after they like hit, hit cut. I'm guessing the two of them were probably laughing their butts off over that. And and other thing with Odo that I also noticed was when Cisco tells him to take his time, going after O'Brien, and he starts to go like his usual pace, and then you can see him visibly slow down to almost a comic degree as he's heading toward the turbo lift elevator. And before my special thing, I will raise one question: is what in the name of the prophets are the weapons doing on the habitat ring? Why the habitat ring? I never noticed that before, and it sort of popped out at me. I mean, you would think there'd be better places to keep weapons than the ring where people sleep, just in case something happens.
Well, they used to be in the school, but we had to petition to move them out of there.
Hey, go.
But the last thing is, I usually used to do when I first joined Seventh Rule. I did in honor of Garrett Wong and Robbie McNeil's Delta Flyers podcast. They do poetry for each episode. And when I joined, I did haikus for D Space Nine episodes. I do limericks for the TNG episodes. So today's DS9 haiku: Miles and Tosk bond. Tosk must be allowed to leave. The hunt continues.
That's a
And
good
I
one.
just noticed that I think I'm doing some sort of impression of the way Garrett Wong reads his haikus. The Delta Flyers podcast. That just randomly popped into my head. But thank you, Garrett, for the inspiration.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Carrie. Great stuff. Speaking of hiding weapons, Homer, where do you hide all of your, weaponry?
So
Swords
Ryan, if I told you where they were,
warhammers,
I'd have to move them. So
axes.
won't divulge. I was going to start with, I am Homer. I got a little frustrated in this one. And what I noticed that I hadn't noticed before is that there's this little bit when the hunter's talking to him, he's in his cell, about, did you tell them, or did you divulge secrets and stuff like that? And I'm thinking that I'm just thinking about how it might have been different, I guess, if he had been able to say, I just need to escape or something like that, and then all this could have been avoided. He has the honor, so it's not like he's going to take advantage of them. He knows what he can and can't do. So that just struck me a little funny this time, and that's all I have.
And you told it well.
No, I got through it.
Goldie Scott Jensen is here as well. Good to see you. What'd you think? Did you notice anything this time that you hadn't noticed before?
It hit me. I love this episode. First of all, this is one of my favorite season 1 episodes, early DS9, like first half of the show favorite episodes. It is one of those great bottle episodes, like everybody was saying. It's a good like DS9. If the Enterprise is wagon train to the stars, DS9 is Deadwood. And you have a lot of people coming into the town, and this was a cool, the stranger rolls into town. and the story rotates around an interaction between what O'Brien would probably be like probably the Undertaker or whatever. Somebody has to do all the hard work in Deadwood, whoever that was, that's O'Brien. But and he interacts with them and goes on his way. But what I pulled a couple things from it this time. I didn't. One of them was just kind of funny, so I'll save that to the end. But how scary a caste system really is. It's easy to look at Tosk and go, how noble that he's willing to step into this role and carry on this just brave tradition and kind of not rock the boat. And how horrifying that whole this blind faith to your destiny, if you were born to do this and you were born to go through this circle. Like, how long has this been going on? We had no clue. We had no clue if this has been happening for millions of years with their culture, or if it's been going on for the last 100 years, 10 years, or however long. It felt like a very extremely long time. So I thought that was kind of it hit me a little bit different this time, because usually it's like, oh, it's so badass, he's getting away, and I hope he's still floating around now doing something. Maybe he'll show up in some future Trek iteration.
Hey, wait a minute,
also,
Scott. You have Tosk and O'Brien behind you, hand in
they're
hand.
being friends. They're happy.
They're
You see, they're still.
So happy together.
Oh.
I got to leave my little Easter eggs for everybody all the time. See that?
I was thinking of the song,
Say
How
hi
Long
back there.
Has This Been Going On, when you said that, actually.
I see that. And the hilarious part that I listened to it with my good headphones in last night. It wasn't just the TV across the room. So you hear a lot of dialogue, and you hear a lot of really great pauses between lines that the actors hold that just add a little bit more, like that quiet pause. And the part came in the beginning where we were finding out how much of a sleazeball Quark is, with it being literally written into the contract that these Dobble girls got to kind of do whatever disgusting thing he wants to do. And the funny part is that they say, she goes, it's right here in the Ferengi print, not down here in the fine print. It's right down here in the Ferengi print, like section 48, sub-level B3 or something like that. I thought that was a cool little bit of dialogue just tossed in there, that they would say, oh, yeah, down here in the Ferengi print. We find out more about Quark, obviously, as it goes along. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And like you said, Ryan, that transporting, oh God, that scene with that light and just how they looked a little bit more alien than alien. I love those costumes. Like, the design is so cool. Like this whole episode altogether, everybody's acting, the makeup, all of it, all across the board.
Those costumes and that transporter was remind me of like the 70s.
Very much a Doctor Who / Red Dwarf type feel, with a cool, just off the edge, a little bit more alien than alien, which was very cool.
Or Human Than Human is also a great song. Thanks. Good stuff, Mr. Scott Jensen. Great job posing those two action figures behind you. Sirach Lofton, do you have any final thoughts for us before we close out?
Let's see. Final thought. One takeaway was the word friend. In the beginning of this episode, O'Brien calls them friend. He says, I'm just trying to save your ship, friend. And for that reason, the friendship began, and he started to even articulate to Cisco. He says, I feel like he's a friend. And it just goes to say that it reminds me of how the power of friendship really overcomes so many different things. It reminds me of Jake and Nog's friendship, O'Brien and Bashir's friendship, just friendship in general, and how powerful it is. I think that's one of the great storylines of this episode, and how even in such a quick time, you can form that friendship, and it doesn't take long. Sometimes it just click right away, and it's like you've had known that person your whole life. I really like how they kind of elaborated on friendship. And then my last thing I'm going to say is Dax's line in this was I think we should skip the formal first contact procedures. And I'm like, it's the first person. and you don't want to roll out the red carpet or anything. And thank God they did send O'Brien, because let's say Worf was sent out on that first contact mission. It would have not been the best representation. Do not touch that. It might not have gone that well. So, Yeah, roll out the red carpet. It's the first time. It's okay. Have a couple of people meet them, put on some, the dress uniforms, make it nice and special. I think that's fair. But thank God they did send O'Brien somebody who liked him, because if it was anybody else, could have been, Kira might have even just cut him off really quickly. And who knows? So I just say we should go with the protocol next time. Always go with the protocol. That's my final answer on that. And otherwise, I did think it was a great episode.
Yeah.
I love hearing the backstory on Corey Allen that Mike McDonald gave us, and the method acting. And so, there's so many gems in this. And, on the rewatch, we get great Colomini acting, great Scott MacDonald's performance, and another batch of Cisco that it shows to be the wise kind of, boss. And I love that he's able to be gentle, stern, lenient, but strict. It's like all of the above. So it's such a good spectrum for the character. That's my final.
All right. Sound like you were describing Melissa for a second there. Nice, but strict and tough.
Yeah, she's tough.
Yeah. All right. We got to run, everybody. Otherwise, Melissa's going to be pissed. She's like, you guys, we got to go. So thank you to Melissa, Justin, Anil, Jed, Allison, Jason, Scott, Homer, Carrie, and Mai for Sirach Lofton and myself and Mr. Aaron Eisenberg for leading the conversation. Thank you all for joining us. And until next time, always remember the 7th rule.
Happy Cisco Day.
Yeah.
All right. So we got a few more people to bring back on. Feel free to hop back on, everybody.
There he is.
There's Tosk.
The likeness on the action figure is wild. I know Scott showed his in the box
great.
earlier. It's
Thank you,
crazy.
Scott.
Very cool.
Yeah.
They can't see it
So-
because my webcam doesn't know what to do.
Everybody
it's-
that's watching live.
He disabled my video, man.
What? No, I think that was Jason. Where are you? I hear you, but I don't see.
He's good at voices.
Where's Ward? Oh, there you are.
Hmm.
Okay. I just prompted you to bring your video back.
There we go.
There he is. Straight
All
from
right.
Montana. So everybody in the live chat, we're going to keep chatting for a few more minutes here, but we're going to get off the live stream so that you can jump on to the next thing, which is Check's Notes. It's the Smoke 007 presents What Does Avery Brooks Mean to Us? Lots of great people involved with that. So you can join that in just a couple minutes by clicking on the link below. There's a link right below this video. Click on that in a couple minutes or right now and wait there for a couple minutes. But that's what's next. And I think that's it for our live stuff right now. Thanks for joining in the fun, everybody. We really appreciate you. Faith, where were you? Louise, Chason, Melissa, Portia, Dave Gregory, Chuck A, and everybody. Thanks for playing with us. Anne-Marie Siegel, Glenn Iverson, we see all of you. Where were you, Anne-Marie? James Z as well. David 83. Anti-derivative Jill. Huh. I'm trying to figure out that. Yeah.
All
right.
not derivative.
So that's it. Thanks very much, everybody. Hop over to the next video right now and keep this thing going. We will see you soon. We will be back. Until then, enjoy the next thing on the Cisco Day. And make sure to use hashtag the Cisco Day all over the place. Do you know it was trending last night, the Cisco Day, everybody? How cool is that? Let's keep it trending today. Hashtag the Cisco Day. See you soon, everybody.